Donc, chers amis, mesdames et messieurs, madame la ministre, nous sommes très heureux d'accueillir ce soir deux artistes extraordinaires, passionnés par la France et par Paris en particulier. Le soir de la Saint-Valentin, il nous est apparu qu'il était très opportun de célébrer Paris, ville romantique entre toutes les villes. So I'm going to shift to English because we announced this evening was also going to be in English. Not everybody here is fluent in French. So we're going to mix French and English this evening, and even Dutch, because Jasmine, our great author, writer, will speak a little bit in Dutch as well, because her novel was written in Dutch. But she hopes to get it translated in French, and we hope so. So, first of all, I would love to welcome Mr. Ferry van der Vliet.
Yes.
And thanking you so much as a photographer and an ambassador of the Dutch Atelier, is that correct, in Paris?
Atelier Français.
Atelier Français,
Atelier Français.
But made of, composed with Dutch artists?
Dutch artists, but most of it is Dutch artists. Mm-hmm. And it's part of the Dutch embassy in Paris.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're really happy to be a bridge in between the two embassies, the one of France, which we are a part, as you know, of the services, and the Dutch embassy in Paris. So that's another bridge of love between our two countries. So first, we wanted you to take us through the streets of Paris, visiting your amazing exhibition this evening.
Okay.
And we will follow with our roundtable about Paris, Eternal City of Love, with Jasmine Dirth, who will give us an insight into her new novel, which is really epitomizing Paris as the city of love. And it's quite an impressive journey. Actually, a very masculine symbol becomes a very feminine symbol. So that is already a shift in paradigm, which is extremely interesting. So, Ferry, I would love to give you the floor and now be guided with you to tour the Alliance Française, to visit Paris with you. And
then we go around
yes,
to visit the
photos. That's okay with you?
Oh, that's okay.
And I'll give you this microphone.
Is
so
that...
that works as well.
This one's also working, I think.
That's perfect. So,
yeah.
So we can go through and follow you, and that will give also time for some people who are a little bit late.
A little bit as an intro. Yes.
Can you stay?
Maybe without microphone.
Yes, okay, because my voice is loud enough.
Yeah, perfect.
My voice is loud enough. Yeah. First, a little bit of intro. What the questions I get most: when was there the time that I fell in love with Paris? And that was during the time that I was working for KLM here in The Hague. And there was an office at the Princess Beatrixlaan, and that was KLM Aerocarto, which was the company for doing the aerial photography and photography in general for KLM. And there I started in the evening. I followed a course for photography at the school here in The Hague. And but at that time you could fly even with your girlfriend at that time, now still for 50 years already my wife, and you flew about for 30 guilders. Yeah, in Dienplaats beschikbaar. If there was a place available, you could fly. Now everybody is flying for 35 euros to Paris, but in that time, that was quite cheap. And so in that's why I fell in love with Paris. In 2007, I stopped working with my job as a CEO with Siemens VDO Automotive. And that's also part of the Dole building at the Princess Beatrixlaan from Siemens head office. And then there was something what to do, with my spare time. So that's And I don't know if there are pensionados here, but it took me three quarter of a year, because my wife was telling me every time, say, what are you doing? I run this business for 40 years, and what do you want to improve in general? So I said, okay, I have to do something totally different. And then I started with a colleague, which I still do a lot of photography. Yes, I started to make photos with him. He's working with a very old photo process from 180 years ago. But then he said, why don't you start blogging? And I said, blogging? What's blogging? And he showed me, and so I said, oh, that's a nice way to do this. And I started blogging, and I got reactions, and not so many reactions that I think I wrote around 700 blogs now about Paris, but then a little bit, hey, you know the Eiffel Tower, you know the Sacré-Cœur, I will take you in the streets behind it. And then there were three books at the moment. We have Ongewoon Parijs, and I take you through Paris in all the arrondissements. And normally everybody starts in the first arrondissement, but in my book I start at the 20th. Nobody is going to the 20th arrondissement because they think, oh, that's a little bit freaky and back streets and dangerous, but it's not dangerous at all. And so I go from the 20th to the 19th, the 18th, and then to the first arrondissement. That's Ongewoon Parijs. Then I wrote the book, and that's Parijs anders bekeken. Look different at Paris. Again, the little bit unknown museums. For instance, nobody knows that the couturier Alaya has a beautiful fashion museum, but it's in the building where he lives and where he always had his catwalks. And that's written in the book. And then I started the book, and that's called Ronde Parijs. And that is, okay, you're fed up with the city now. And what are you going to do? You're going to do trips that's a little bit around Paris. And that's the third book. Currently, I'm working on a fourth book, which has to be introduced I think in autumn winter this year by my publisher. And this is a little bit is if you have a small budget, yes, how can you visit Paris? Yes, and these are all kind of tips and tricks to do and to deal with Paris in the cheapest way. Yes, but that's we have to wait for that. Then the photos. I will take you through the photos, but let me know, this is my black and white period. I have several periods. I started my blog in black and white. And the calendar dates, you see, that's most of the day when the photo was taken or when I start writing about the photography. And this is a mix of a lot of photos which I made. What you see, and if you want to buy a photo, that's good to know, then this is the size you get. And this is the way how a print will look like, yeah, which you buy. Then it's originally stamped with everything, but you get an idea of the quality of the print itself, because this is a much better quality. This museum printed archive paper, yes, from Hanemühle, which is the best printing paper you can get, and that's less quality, so that you know. Okay, then we make a small tour. Yes, to the photos. The questions can I'll explain. Yes.
You're not allowed to ask questions.
Hij zegt ook zo vaak in Paris underground. There was underground. Wat die nieuwe. Ja. Naar de Glenhoek. Ja, daar zijn we nu. Ja, de riolen. Ja, ben je ook geweest, ja? Heb je dat niet? Nee, maar ja, dat is ook weer zo'n toeristisch.
Will you do photography?
No, I know.
You know it too well.
I know it too well. Ga jij maar even kijken. Ja.
Là, c'est le téléphone solaire. Oui, mais merci pour la photo.
Ah,
Can maybe even.
That's maybe just.
Yes, yes.
I just rehearsed it.
Yes. So where do you want to do?
Yeah. This until
Here, métro du Vendredi. Okay.
then sorry.
Then they go back there. Au métro, Judith. Jusque là.
Jusqu'à là. Oui.
Okay.
That's
That's fair.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I read one part in English.
English. Yes, I announced it already.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't there.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ça reste bloqué, hein.
C'est-à-dire que quelqu'un a débranché et j'ai rebranché là. Donc j'ai rebranché. Hein. J'espère que je l'ai bien fait. Peut-être pas bien fait.
Mais j'ai déjà scotché.
Ah voilà, j'ai l'impression que tu as réussi. Ça a donné une petite. C'est de la partie blanche. C'est la décroche.
Ouais.
Ça a l'air d'aller là?
Ben, alors, la 1, non, la 1 est toujours bloquée. Alors,
Faudrait peut-être faire. Est-ce qu'on a quelqu'un pour faire quelque chose? Ah oui,
ben, j'ai ton téléphone.
ah, bah, c'est très gentil. Charles, on va faire une photo avec toi, avec Jasmine. On en profite.
03 056. Je crie bien le code, désolé. Avec les œuvres derrière.
Peut-être aussi, si tu veux, la banane.
Ah oui, ouais.
Avec la banane.
Allez, de toute façon, c'est ça. Hein. Ça, c'est des branchés, ça, c'est des branchés.
Alors, attends. Pardon, non, pas de soucis. On va y arriver. Là. Alors, peut-être plus loin, donc, pour nous avoir en pied.
Ah oui, avoir en pied.
Oui, oui. Parce que comme ça, on a tout le programme.
Bon, on peut se mettre un peu plus chaleureusement.
Oui,
pour
là,
le
ça
sur
me
les rimes.
T'arrives à faire en pied aussi?
Oui, il y a juste.
On voit plus la nuance française.
Oui, c'est qu'il y avait le.
Je voulais mettre il fait là.
Comme ça,
Je voulais le faire.
on a les deux bananes. Les deux
C'est
qui
nickel. Merci beaucoup. Il y a tous les éléments. D'accord, super. Est-ce que tu peux nous en faire une? Toi, des pieds à la tête. C'est ça, en
Oui,
fait.
oui, je peux. Mais il y en avait une, mais on va en faire une parce que.
C'est pas du tout la même chose. Quand tu vois les pieds à la tête.
And yeah, these are the famous lamps you see on La Concorde. This is
Ok, c'est super. Parfait. Ça, c'est
De
très
rien, for everything.
C'est parfait. Ça, c'est parfait. Non,
Yes,
pas
I
les
think it's
Oui, oui, non, les autres, on les
Alors, c'est débranché. Donc j'ai le
Non, mais c'est vrai.
2,
Non, c'est pas grave.
4.
Non, mais c'est on va
Et
essayer
six.
avec Richard.
Une, deux et quatre.
Mais c'est l'Empire.
The other one is fountains and
Ouais, c'est juste le téléphone de Laurence.
Est-ce que c'est qu'au lieu de profiter qu'il soit là-haut,
Ah non, peut-être pas. Ah, c'est bon, ça s'est rebranché. Mais on dirait que c'est décalé. Oui, oui, c'est décalé. Ah non, ça s'est pas branché.
Ja, ik denk dat ik. Maar dat is
Ja, ik heb soms wel iets over geschreven.
La déclaration, oui, je vais peut-être monter
Ja, dus dan gaan we het ook over de wolf. Dit niet. Ook wel. Heel even zo in het flat, want er is zo'n moment waar je zit.
Moi aussi, j'ai un peu. Ah, bah alors, c'est pas faire
Zoals mensen.
Oh, ze zegt
Ja, dat hebben ze speciaal kleine flesjes. Ja, als je een boek koopt, laatst krijg je nog een flesje. En als je dat flesje speelt zich gezond in het boek. En dat is eigenlijk een drankje dat wordt genuttigd na 10 minuten. Altijd een dit drankje
Nee, wij zijn over aan 2 en dan de A12. Ja, want Ja, wij hebben dan het systeem in de auto. Pak je snel. Zegt hij nee, dan lijkt het aan deze bus. De vorige keer zijn we via de daar gegaan. En toen naar terug wegrijden. En dan komt er een keer zo. Ja. Ja,
culturele muziek.
Als je 2 jaar lid van die ook
Dus je inderdaad. Want jij woont wat heb je gebouwd? Ja, ja. Ja, dat is meestal. Ja, want ik zit het leeg, hier ben je aan het haast.
Dank je. Dank je. Moet je gewoon wakker houden. Oké. Ja.
Je hebt ze mooi verlost, zeg.
Ja, het gaat er nou.
Niks gerust. Angels van
Ferry van der Vliet, hallo. Welkom. Leuk. Mag hier ook wel blijven zitten, hè? Ja?
Laat ik een len
De wijn? Nou, dat gebeurt gewoon hierna.
Geen idee.
Ja.
Nee, hè? So you can use the microphone when you're...
I think my voice is loud enough.
Okay.
And if I do that with the microphone.
Okay, nice. So if you want.
Ja, thanks. Is het al klaar?
Hij is klaar. Oh, ja, maar ik krijg het dan goed. Als die is niet
Ja, zo heerlijk. Terminus Noord, de beide grote prachtige dingen waren.
Dat zijn de mensen
Ja.
obers.
Ja,
Dat zijn de
echte ogen.
Dat zijn de echte,
Mooi,
ja,
hè?
ja.
Palet. Ja, dat is allemaal. Ja.
Die betekent daar nog iets, hè?
Hè?
Ik zeg, daar ben je nog iets.
Ook dat. Ja.
Heel mooi. Sowieso een zwart is.
Dat doet veel, vind ik. Ja. Ja. Heerlijk. Ja. Dit is Terminus Noord, het restaurant. Dit is La Palette, in de Rue Vicente.
Het zijn vrij recente foto's, maar als ze zo zwart-wit zijn, dus net uit de jaren 30 is.
Het voordeel is toen ik een vlog maakte, ja, dat je met zwart-wit bijna het seizoen niet herkent. Ja, en dat is het voordeel. Dus je moet de foto altijd goed gebruiken. Polydor moet je ook een keer gaan eten. Dit restaurant is zo lekker.
Nee, ik zag iets ici.
Oh,
Il y a encore une place à essayer. Je vais demander à Thibaut, mais en fait, de rajouter des chefs pour les personnes que personne ne soit deux. Chers amis, soyez donc de nouveau les bienvenus après cette visite de Paris avec Ferry van der Vliet. Thank you again. We're going to mix English and French and Dutch this evening because not everybody is fluent in French this evening. So we wish to thank you again in the name of the whole team of Alliance Française and our chairman, Mr. Richard Schwartz, who is welcoming you also this evening. Very important. So we're really, really happy to introduce you now to our next ambassador of l'Atelier Néerlandais, dear author Jasmine Dirks. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Jasmine. We are really very impressed by your work. To this moment, we cannot read it all in French because you wrote the book in Dutch, but we hope it will be soon translated into French. So, first of all, I think, Jasmine, would you like to tell us a few words, and then I will be able to read a few passages of your book that one of our team members, Nina Wong, translated into French. So that's like an appetizer to go further into your book in French. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Hélène, for the invitation at this wonderful event. And very nice to meet Ferry again. Ferry and I are both members of Atelier Néerlandais in Paris. And there's another member in the audience as well. So we are very proud to be ambassadors of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Ferry and I met each other at the book ball 2 years ago on the embassy, the Dutch embassy.
The residence.
And yeah, so that we are not strangers. So that's very nice. Before I go further, I would ask somebody of the audience to sign in Patrice. He's on the second floor. So just because it's very important, then I will tell you for the next book. So Hélène, you asked me to tell a bit of the background of my book. When I started to write this book, it was 2012, and I only had one page of a story of a meeting with a mime. And I haven't had any clue that I would end up with a real book about this wonderful story. Some parts of the book, many parts of the book are really happened. But of course, there's a lot of fantasy and fiction in this book as well. So it's all the mystique of writing. And the story is about a woman, a Dutch woman, who is searching for herself, searching for love, and she is leaving to Paris, and she meets a mime at Place du Tête. This is a book about romances in Paris. It's about Olympe Agile. It's about Musée de Montmartre. Crazy Horse is in it. Dita Von Teese is in it. It's a really mixture of romance, erotic, history also, and it's just a glimpse of the book.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. For us French people, we must say, it's always almost a surprise that we should be associated so much with the theme, the eternal theme of love and of romance, I must say. It seems to be almost a cliche, let's say, but around the world we are really associated with this topos. So we have to live with it or up to it. It's not always that easy. So it's very interesting to see Paris through your Dutch eyes and to discover how you perceive our city of Paris, and obviously with Ferry having the visual art here coming into giving us la toile de fond, the background of the city. It's really interesting. Now, I felt as I started to read your book, the little bit that is already translated, that you were yourself a painter with words. I was very impressed. And it reads absolutely magnificently. So it's really beautiful to discover this. So I will go according to your wishes. Would you like me to start reading?
Yes, I hope Patrice is also.
Perfect. So I'm going to ask Caliste and Raphael, is Patrice ready to come?
Yeah, I think.
All right.
Okay, yeah. Okay, you can start.
And I can start. All right. Because there is an interaction in between the text and the embodiment of the text, which is very appropriate. It's all about embodiment. Here it comes. Printemps 2012. Comme une femme qui s'éveille lentement dans la lumière mystique du matin, Paris s'étire. Les premiers rayons dorés du soleil se faufilent à travers les volets de brume et caressent doucement ces banlieues pointues en train de s'éveiller. L'odeur du café frais embaume ces ruelles et la promesse d'un nouveau jour danse le bleu tendu des toits. La sensation d'un journal du matin au titre criant et d'un croissant chaud et crépitant qui s'effrite sur votre nouveau manteau d'été. C'est l'un de ces samedis matins où tout semble en équilibre. Mais ce n'est pas ce que ressent Judith. Judith marche avec sa fille Anne depuis l'hôtel de la Jatte, le long de la Seine, jusqu'à la station de métro Pont de Neuilly. Au métro, Judith achète un ticket Paris Visite qui leur permet de voyager dans Paris pendant 3 jours de manière illimitée. Elle se réjouit déjà de ces journées qu'elles passeront ensemble. Main dans la main, elles montent dans le métro. À la station suivante, elles changent de métro pour se rendre à la Tour Eiffel. Il fait frais dans le hall du métro. Judith frissonne. Si seulement elle avait pris un gilet. Anne lui donne un coup de coude. Regarde. Judith suit le regard d'Anne. Comme une voyageuse dans un monde qui n'est pas le sien, un mime est assis sur un banc sous un panneau d'affichage aux lettres criardes. Le visage de la plupart des voyageurs du métro sont concentrés sur les panneaux indiquant les noms des stations. Les enfants montrent à leurs parents l'homme en costume bleu qui attend sur le banc, en route pour une longue journée de divertissement. Son visage est peint d'un blanc craie. Il a des sourcils noirs et ondulés, les lèvres rouges et les joues en forme de pomme. Sur une pancarte en bois qu'il porte, il est écrit « Le mime Pascal ». Judith sourit distraitement et regarde le métro s'arrêter. Ils montent dans le métro. Le mime s'assoit derrière eux, sans expression. Ici, la scène est remplie par la présence de tant de personnes différentes, avec leurs propres histoires, leurs propres soucis et leurs propres peines, que toute forme de divertissement supplémentaire signifierait une rupture de cet équilibre. Les odeurs des gens, de leur parfum, de leur après-rasage, de l'odeur de la sueur, de l'odeur de la nourriture et l'odeur du vent froid des stations de métro remplissent déjà l'espace plus qu'il n'en faut. Il faut sortir d'ici, dit Judith en se levant. Anne la suit vers la porte. Le mime regarde Anne qui s'accroche fermement à une barre pour éviter de tomber lorsque le métro freine brutalement. Il la salue un instant avant de regarder à nouveau devant lui. « Maman, il m'a fait signe. » Judith regarde le visage stoïque de l'imitateur. Alors qu'il ne bouge pas d'un poil, elle le voit faire un autre geste de la main. Judith sent qu'elle a chaud. Pour un instant, elle ne se sent plus aussi seule dans cette ville de millions d'habitants. Elle lui sourit et prend Anne par la main pour sortir ensemble. Quand elles passent devant le métro qui accélère lentement, elles aperçoivent derrière la vitre le mime qui leur souffle un baiser de la main.
Wow. It really sounds beautiful.
So it was really magical. This scene is really amazing. And for anyone who travels through Paris in the metro, I mean, it's the most romantic description of a journey in metro that you could ever dream of. It's absolutely magical. And you awake all the senses of the reader, you know, how we go through everything. So, Jasmine, please, could you give us more insight about your relationship with Paris and how you feel Dutch people feel? What is their connection with Paris? Do you think you are unique, or do you think the whole nation vibrates in relation to Paris?
Thank you so much, Len. I don't know if I'm unique in this feeling. I think I'm not, because we all Dutch people, a lot of Dutch people are longing for romance. And Paris is still the most romantic city, I think. When you think love and romance, I think first city, I think it's Paris. And I think Ferry can accomplish it also.
Yeah, I agree, but in general, it's romance is between the years. So romance can be everywhere. Only the city in Paris is helping you a lot. There are beautiful buildings, there's architecture, there's culture. They love restaurants. They love. There are so many places where you will find romance, and that's probably it's for centuries the city of love. But if you're really honest, there are also beautiful cities like the Italian city, Florence, Rome, Venice. So Prague is also very, very beautiful.
Parijs is grandeur.
Grandeur, yeah, that's true. But in general, everybody, if you ask which is the city of love, everybody says Paris. Yes, and it has that atmosphere. And I think that's in general what you see. You are relaxed in Paris. Totally different. For instance, when you're in New York, there's a huge vibe. Yes, and in Paris it's more tranquil. Yes, what I like, they take 3 hours to have lunch over there. That's which I love so much. So it's joie de vivre. Joie de vivre is the good, but I still think romance is between the years. You can have romantic places everywhere, but the city of Paris is the decor for City of Love. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ferry. We resonate with this, obviously. It's very interesting. Today, I told our team members that the Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs chose to illustrate the day of today with Paris being a romantic city on the occasion of Valentine's Day. Now, Valentine's is not buried in Paris. He's buried in Dublin. I don't know if some of you know it.
That's true.
That's a connection between Ireland and France. But anyway, so yes, definitely. So, Jasmine, you told me that a lot of places in Paris are more associated for you with love and with the theme of romance. Especially, you mentioned the Lapin à Gilles. Yes, I don't know if all of you have ever visited this cabaret, Le Lapin à Gilles. There is a culture of cabaret around Montmartre where you can, obviously here you brought this book, Montmartre and the Making of Mass Culture. So maybe a number of us will want to explore this book. We can circulate it around a little bit. Some of you want to have a quick look at it. So obviously you have this kind of freedom which is expressed in France around the theme, obviously, of love and the joie de vivre expressed through eroticism. Maybe it's the only place in the world that pushes as far as we do this this theme or this topos, as we see. Could you give us an insight? Can we find the same here in the Netherlands or not at all? Are there places? Because obviously Amsterdam is also associated, but in a completely different way. So could you maybe help us to go there?
When we talk about romantic places in the Netherlands, I think The Hague, because it's the most francophone city of the Netherlands, I think, with a lot of, or even more French markets, restaurants. I think that is The Hague. For me, it's The Hague. But when we are talking about, you talked about Montmartre, On n'a pas Agile, and for me, that's the center of romance in Paris. I go back to Montmartre just now because I want to tell that I interviewed the owner of On n'a pas Agile for this book, and it's the amazing Yves Mathieu. He's 95 years old, and he still sings every week, 3 nights. And when I think on Montmartre, the old-fashioned Montmartre, because On n'a pas Agile is from 1860, and all the great performers have been singing or performing there. Edith Piaf started. Charlie Chaplin was there. Picasso and his friends came there, and many more. So when I talked to Yves Mathieu, he told me his mother and his stepfather were the former owners of On n'a pas Agile. Yeah, that's for me. I'm drifting away in my fantasy, and then one of the chapters is also placed in On n'a pas Agile. And when we're talking about the old-fashioned way of On n'a pas Agile, is also modernized because you can sign in. So you call it digital way of attending a show or an evening, only €5, and you can sit with your own bottle of wine and your camembert and just in the Netherlands, and then you can think, oh, is this because this we're talking about the new romantic of Paris and France. That's for me is just an example how we can modernize even On n'a pas Agile.
That's pretty impressive. Let's ask Ferry, because you've been picturing Paris through a few decades. Did you see an evolution? Is Paris, according to you, becoming more and more romantic, or less and less, or is it a constant?
I think it's constant, but it's where you go in Paris. So I love Montmartre, but I love the streets behind the Sacré-Cœur. I hate Place du Tertre because it's so commercial. But if you go, for instance, to the Museum of Montmartre, Yes, there's a beautiful garden. It's like an oasis at the top of the hill. You can sit there. You can have there your coffee in the morning. You have a beautiful view on the vineyard of Montmartre, on the old building of La Pen Agile. So there are many places which I love. I love the Marais, for instance. That's for me a romantic place. A walk like along the Seine in the early morning. It's like you have Paris at your feet just for yourself. So for me, the beauty of Paris lays in the streets behind the Tour Eiffel, the Sacré-Cœur, the Notre Dame, etc. And that's when I'm making photos in Paris. And when I go to Paris, I always have a to-do list because my wife says, "Hey, I'm coming with you," but I hate just walking around with any purpose at all. So I have to make a kind of timetable. But when we visit a certain place, then we start circling around. And that's what I advise everybody. Just circle around. Take a street, oh, that's a nice street, just take it. Because you never get lost in Paris. There's always a metro station at the corner. And then you really will discover the most beautiful places of Paris. And the way I discover them. And to be honest, most of the time I talk to my French colleagues, which I met with Siemens and in my job with Philips, and I tell them about places in Paris. Yeah, but you live in Paris. I don't know. Never been there. Yeah, so and that's what you learn about Paris, but just strolling around, discover it, love it. Yeah.
That's very beautiful. Also to feel your love for wandering through Paris, hein, le vagabondage, un peu la découverte voilà, à travers la flânerie, hein,
Oui.
le flâneur, le promeneur, flâneur.
It's a French word, eh?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So yes, definitely, it's beautiful to hear you saying this. You mentioned earlier on that you felt Paris was also a city epitomizing a human scale. Everywhere in Paris, you never feel like in New York, kind of overwhelmed by the buildings of the city. There is a human dimension as well with the Baron Haussmann who structured the city as he did, and you picture this so beautifully. I suppose this contributes as well to the romanticism of the city, the fact that you have every arrondissement, it's a bit like a small village with its own character and its own epicenter. So each of these arrondissements, as you said earlier on, has its own soul and purpose, and it's definitely having its own set of harmonies. So it's beautiful to know that you would resonate with this as well. And but each time I go back to Paris, when I live abroad, I have that feeling when I arrive immediately that there is a spirit of freedom, even in people's behavior, but also I can see a lot of romantic attitudes between people. In Paris, you can see couples holding each other, kissing each other, being demonstrative. We don't see that so often in other cities of the world. It's not as at least conspicuous. I don't know how you feel about that, but I have that feeling when I come back. But
that loving feeling.
Yeah, correct. What about, Jasmine, in your book, is this dimension of freedom and expression of, the freedom of expressing one's feeling mentioned?
We call it personage, Judith, is a typical Dutch woman who is trying to learn about herself after marriage, because she was only 17 when she met her former husband, so she has to discover her boundaries, and she she discovers them in Paris. Because of the mime is playing a very important part in this story about expression, talking about expression, because as we saw, there's little expression on the face of a mime, and she's going to discover by playing mime by herself. I did also a workshop of mime. It's very, very difficult to be a good mime. It's really special. So she has to conquer herself. And that's, I think, the one topic in this book, which is very important, and discover her eroticism as well. And and she feels very free in the end of the book. And so I think, I will read a part of that story in Dutch, and that's because Judith is going to be a mime for a moment at Montmartre, and there are masks in the book, and there are misunderstandings in the book, and now this part is when she is on Montmartre with the face of a mime, the clothes of a mime, and then Pascal, the mime, is seeing her at his spot, and he's very angry. So this I'm going to tell now, Patrice, and now it's in Dutch. Als door de bliksem getroffen ziet hij haar staan. Die verrekte mimespeelster, die amateur die gisteren ook op zijn plekje stond. Met grote stappen loopt hij geïrriteerd op haar af. Hij gaat er eens flink de waarheid zeggen. Dit is zijn territorium. Hij duwt de toeristen die staan te kijken aan de kant en wil net zijn mond open doen als hij ziet hoe een klein meisje in haar voet staat en haar een handje uitsteekt. Het kleine meisje straalt. Ze heeft een rieten hoedje op. En even komt er een foto in zijn herinnering naar boven van de dochter van Judith. Judith, de mooie Judith, die hij zo graag wilde ontmoeten. Hij weet niet of hij morgen nog wel haar durft te ontmoeten. Urenlang had hij vanmorgen gemediteerd en uiteindelijk had hij haar een berichtje gestuurd. Hij heeft nog steeds geen reactie teruggekregen. Ze is vast al naar huis gegaan. Geen wonder. Hij heeft haar lelijk laten zitten. Hij kijkt naar het publiek dat applaudisseert voor de mimespeelster. Langzaam loopt hij op haar af. Judith kijkt vol verbazing naar Pascal die op haar afkomt. Het lijkt wel of er stoom uit de oren komt. Wat kijkt hij vreselijk boos. Zo kent ze hem niet. Ze wordt bang van hem en haar benen beginnen te trillen, maar als het kleine meisje op haar afloopt, met haar uitgestoken handje, vergeet ze het boze gezicht van Pascal en gaat op in haar spel. Als het meisje weer snel terugkomt naar haar moeder, voelt ze een opgewonden spanning in haar lijf. Hij is eindelijk toch gekomen. Ze wil naar hem toe lopen en hem omhelzen. Maar wacht, hij herkent haar natuurlijk niet in haar mimekleding. Ze gniffelt. Hoe lang zou het duren voordat hij ontdekt dat zij het is? Wat een verrassing zou dit voor hem zijn. En stokstijf blijft ze stilstaan, terwijl Pascal nog steeds boos op haar afkomt. Met grote passen loopt hij dwars door het publiek en gaat recht voor haar staan. En waar denk jij mee bezig te zijn? Ja, zegt hij bespiedend. Dit is mijn plek, mijn bestaan, mijn publiek. Waarom zoek je geen andere plek met je amateurkunsten? Judith kijkt naar zijn ogen die vuur lijken te spugen. Ze moet wel heel voorzichtig te werk gaan. Goedemiddag, meneer de professor, zegt ze. Terwijl ze vlijend een hand op zijn schouder legt. Wat fijn dat u vanmiddag de moeite neemt om naar mijn generale repetitie te komen. Was u in de buurt vandaag? Ik dacht dat u een vrije dag had. Ga van mijn plek af, dame, anders ga ik de gendarme roepen. Ah, meneer, wees mild voor mij. Ze strijkt met een vinger langs zijn wang. Zullen we de act die we samen hebben ingestudeerd nog even aan het publiek laten zien? En ze geeft haar een bloem, hem een bloem aan de verbouwereerde Pascal. Ik heb zin om u te zoenen, meneer de professor. Terwijl het publiek begint te joelen, kust Judith Pascal vol op zijn rood gesminkt lip. Langzaam voelt ze hoe zijn woede plaatsmaakt voor een acute tederheid die ze absoluut niet had verwacht. Het lijkt alsof er elektrische schokjes door haar lichaam gaan. Jij zoent wel heel fijn op een concurrerende meme-speelster grond, Pascal. En langzaam voelt ze een spanning tussen ons staan die ontembaar lijkt te worden. Ze willen verder zoenen en voelen. Ze probeert duidelijk te maken dat ze weg wil van deze plek.
Oh. Bravo.
Merci.
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 Notre grand artiste, Patrice Haddad, acteur, comédien et aussi professeur de théâtre ici à l'Alliance française. Merci Jasmine pour cette très belle cette union franco-néerlandaise d'arts différents qui se rencontrent grâce à ton livre. Thank you so much for this merging and dialogue between arts and artists from France and from the Netherlands. We're very impressed by your writing. It's really absolutely beautiful, and we're standing in awe because you're a woman writer. I was reminding some of our friends this evening that James Joyce wrote a very erotic also passage in the Dubliners that takes place inside Paris as well. So I don't know if you were aware of that, but it's interesting to see that foreign writers, different non-French writers, get inspired to free their expressions around the embodiment of love and its different physical expression inside of Paris. Obviously, the mime echoes the mime Marceau, Mime Marceau, who is forever an incredible ambassador of French acting.
Yes. And maybe nice to know that I interviewed the incredible mime, Dutch mime, Rob van Rijn, also for this book. And unfortunately, he passed away. But I interviewed him because I want to know everything about mime. So, yeah.
Very interesting, because obviously mime is about a language that is not articulated in words, in language, precisely. So love is beyond language as well.
Universal language, yeah?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. I can only quote also Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. On ne voit bien qu'avec le cœur. We can only see through the heart. So I guess this is also an echo of that beautiful journey. Ferry, would you like to comment on that? Did you picture mimes at all in Paris? Did you see any?
No. I did. To be honest, I did not see any mime players in Paris, but I was curious because it's the place in front of the church. Forgot the name. And that's not the part which of Paris I visit much, where she positioned the mime player. Most of the time you see a lot of artists in front of the Centre Pompidou in the area. Yes, along the Seine you see something, especially on the Pont des Arts, you see artists, but to be honest, no mime players.
No mind.
Yeah.
Yes, we saw a lot of
Waiters.
And I think there's a connection between the waiters and the mime because they.
I spent a lot of time in restaurants in Paris, to be honest, because that's you see that in the photos of the over there in Terminus Nord. That's really the vibe in the restaurants. Hey? You see them walking with those big trays with the food, and I love a Paris waiter because he's really attending to the table.
Yes.
He's looking at the language of the table and he acts on that. Yes, most of the time they're always friendly. Yes, and yes. That the waiters on the terraces is a difference, but the waiters in general in the restaurant itself, I really love them. I have one restaurant where I always go. Yes, it's Julien in Paris, and immediately when I come down, the waiters knows that hey, you're here again, and immediately my wife and it got a free glass of champagne. So it's always nice to be there. You really feel welcome if they know you. Yeah.
It's really beautiful to hear that. Yes, I could feel the presence of the gastronomy, la gastronomie française, which joined the patrimony of the world patrimony.
Absolutely.
And maybe some of you have seen the latest film with Juliette Binoche, La Passion selon Dodin Bouffant, which was translated Pot au feu in the English language. And I felt after seeing this film in the film house, we presented it during our ciné première, that everybody who would like to understand the French identity should see this film, because it's all about the sensuality, the sensuousness of eating food. Food seen, perceived and lived as an adventure of senses, really, more than feeding yourself. It's all about exploring the beauty of nature through food. And it's quite an incredible film. And I think that echoes what you just said. Is food and restaurants, are they playing a role also in your book?
Not specific. No, not so much. I think they are more on the table themselves than the food. But talking about food, then I talk about drinks. Maybe you saw it already on the table. There are little bottles, but also bigger bottles. It's called Parfait Amour. And Parfait Amour, does anyone here ever heard about Parfait Amour? Yeah, because I will this drink I put in my book, not very on a nice way. We will read it, but I think it's such a wonderful thought that this purple drink, Parfait Amour, in the Hague we've got a very old distillery. It's called Van Cleef. And Van Cleef is the oldest distillery in the Hague. And I asked them to put it in little bottles. So when you are buying a book tonight, you get a little bottle of Parfait Amour. And I've got something to taste as well. I brought with me. So we can all have our celebration of the wonderful event here, and Valentine's Day, of course. I think it's very Valentine's to drink it.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. It's l'élixir d'amour. We are going to discover what it is, and it's very interesting to see again this dialogue between France and this distillery from the Netherlands. Again, exploring the topos of love through this beverage. So it's very beautiful. Any other subject you would like to touch on before we wrap up? Maybe we would love to give the audience the floor. Maybe there are questions about our two artists. We'd love to circulate the microphone to take your question.
Sound of silence.
Do not hesitate.
Ja,
Yes.
ik wil wel
Question.
vragen.
Two questions.
Eten mensen in Parijs meer buiten huis dan thuis?
I will need a translator.
Nou, dus
Are they, people in Paris, are they eating always outside or inside the house privately?
I think people love to welcome in their homes in France a lot. It's very French to host at home, but obviously in Paris you have so many beautiful restaurants. People will enjoy going out in these different restaurants.
But the holy 12 o'clock to run to the restaurants to eat, and then 2 o'clock back to your work.
Ah yes, the lunchtime. Yes, it's very true. Even in business, and I talk under the control of Maria van der Hoven, who is here with us tonight. I was surprised because in France we use a lot business luncheons, and we really spend from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock a proper luncheon, and we go to enjoy a business luncheon. It's very important, including to create bonds through eating together in the professional context, and I couldn't see the same here. And I was surprised when I arrived here that it was not very appropriate to schedule business luncheon. Whereas for us, it's absolutely crucial.
Yeah, but in the French law, there's also, you get a meal ticket if you, everybody gets a meal ticket. Yeah, and they have lunch, a long lunch, because they have a simple meal in the evening, especially in Paris, because the apartments are sometimes 20 or 30 square meters, and there's everything on those 30 square meters. And they live with 2 people, sometimes with a small family. So they have to go out to meet each other, because they don't have room to invite a lot of people. So they are, and that's why they are on terraces. But you see also the youth. They are sitting on the terraces, tables, and what it's not possible in, for instance, in Amsterdam, that you sit the whole night with 1 beer at 1 table. Yes, then they will chase you away. In Paris, okay, you just sit outside with the coffee, and as long as you want to sit there, it's okay. So that's in general the reason that the most of the restaurants are full during lunchtime. Yeah.
Okay.
That's very correct. Obviously, you have also the very famous cafes, you know, from le Quartier Latin, be it le Café de Flore, obviously, where all les deux magots, aussi, bien sûr. So these are very, let's say, symbolic places to this day, really well frequented. So yes, this is absolutely the reality of the life of Paris. I would like to make just a parenthesis and make a quotation from Le Nôtre, you know, the gardener of Louis XIV. He said the most beautiful part of Paris is Versailles. So there is no picture of Versailles. I come from Versailles, so I had to do this at least. Versailles is also very romantic. So very, very romantic, because obviously the nature of the gardens are just a wonder. So I would invite you all to expand your love of Paris to Versailles.
Absolutely. But also the city of Versailles. So don't go only to the castle itself. The gardens are beautiful, the castle is beautiful, but the city is also very, very beautiful.
Thank you for saying this. That's beautiful. Yes, you know, Versailles is structured as a butterfly. So half of it is the garden and the castle, and the other half is the village or the city. But it really looks like a village, but it's a city. So that's what makes it so very, very special. And in Versailles, the houses are bigger and people own garden, have garden, and they escape what you just mentioned, the small, narrow flats. So they can host people.
A lot of Parisians live outside, outside the village of the city. They have their houses,
Yes.
So they can flee the city when it's getting too, with the Olympic Games. You have many Parisians rent their flat out for prices, huge prices, and go to their houses outside Paris. So they flee Paris. Yeah.
So it's going to be another fight. Absolutely. Maybe another question from our audience.
Ok. Une toute autre question, peut-être un peu plutôt philosophique. Je continue en anglais, peut-être?
Oui,
okay.
For just
So much.
I was thinking about the mime. For me, it was also a certain that you keep yourself away, that it's in a disguise, and that you hide yourself. Is there also a link in the book? Yeah, because I was thinking,
Yes, definitely, because it's all about hiding yourself behind the mask, and the mask could be your marriage, your mask could be the environment, or your work, or your family, or whatever. But to become who you really are. That's I think the most important message of this book.
thank you.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. Any other message from questions from our audience? No? We seem to have gone full circle. Mariana, no question for our...
No, only a consideration. Only consideration. While we were talking about food, for example, and you ask, because you said, okay, food is a kind of a preparation of it is a kind, and you said, okay, food is not so important. And so I really noticed that I'm Italian, and for us, we have the same feeling about food that
The French
people.
Yeah.
And instead, Dutch people are more pragmatical, pragmatic with food. So it's really interesting that both of you are so in love with a city that is not in the, can I say, that is so different in some way of your natural background. Isn't it? I'm saying something.
I'm going to say something I really like, because it's not only Pascal, the mime, who's playing a role in this book, but it's also Italian fashion designer, and he is mad about food. So the old Toscanian food with because his mother is making focaccia, and it's all that part is really, the Italian food is playing a role in this book. So there is still bits of.
Probably that's why also if you look at Paris as a romantic city, then immediately you say Venice, you say Rome, and you say Florence. Yes, that the environment, the beauty of the cities, the culture of the city, and especially the food. If you are a food lover.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. For us, it's kind of culture. Is every day is. We can say Italian when they are not eating, they are always speaking about food, even when they are eating or not.
Yeah. Probably we talk a lot about the weather, that we don't have the time to talk about food. Yeah, but maybe in addition to food, and then going back to Paris, two things you should do if you have the time. go to the Le Cordon Bleu. The Cordon Bleu in Paris, it's close to the Ile de la Cygne, next to the Seine. And there you can have lunch. There's a restaurant which all the students, which is very affordable, but you can also do special courses over there. How to make strawberry cake or how to make foie gras, and all those kind of things you can learn there, and that's really nice to do. For instance, they have one course. You go with one of the chefs. You go to the market at the President Wilson, the food market. There you buy all the fresh ingredients. Then you go back to the kitchen, and with 10 or 15 people, you're making your own lunch together with the chef, but then at a Michelin style dinner of the Michelin style lunch, which is really nice to do. Not that expensive, but you learn a lot, and you see also the discipline of the French kitchen. So what you heard here many times is we chef, and they run, and the chef doesn't ask anything. The little chefs around him are feeding with everything, and then he asks, and then we chef, and then that is very good, very beautiful to see. And the other thing is, you have to get up at around 3 o'clock in the night. Yes, then you go to Rungis, and you can walk in Rungis, because then the fish holes are opening, and after the fish there is the meat and etc. The fruit, and that's beautiful. The vibe of the belly of Paris, to see those people, and to all the food which is going into Paris, but also to the Sligro here in the Netherlands, and the Hanos in Netherlands. It's coming every time fresh from all places, but also from the sea, and there you learn everything about food. And that's really, it's not expensive. I think it's around 30 euros to visit Rungis. The only thing is you have to get up at 3 o'clock in the night, but it's fantastic. And the beauty is that around that we are thinking, hey, now I need really a coffee. Yes, all the employees are drinking white wine and beer, etc. So it's a different and totally different table.
Thank you so much, Feli, for mentioning Le Cordon Bleu. Amazing cooking school, which is being represented also in the beautiful film Julie and Julia, which maybe some of you have seen, which tells the story of Julia's child, embodied by Meryl Streep.
Yes.
And just for you to know that the chairman of Le Cordon Bleu, André Cointreau, is also the vice president of the Alliance Française network.
Okay.
Absolutely. And when I was director of Alliance Française in Cork, in Ireland, we did organize a screening of the film Julie and Julia, and he did come to our screening himself, and we were very happy because there was a friend of Julia Child, an Irish lady who did her graduation in the same year, and she received the diploma of the Cordon Bleu. So that was very nice. So thank you for mentioning Le Cordon Bleu, because they definitely are a major ambassador of French culture.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Thank you so much. And André Cointreau will be very touched when he will see the recording of this video. He will be very happy. Thank you for mentioning Rungis. So just for you to know, during COVID time, as you know, all the restaurants had to be closed down, and there was a major issue how to protect le marché de Rungis. And there was a procedure put in place that all the Parisians could be delivered fresh food from the Rungis market directly to their doorstep, so that these small producers would not be out of work when all the restaurants had to be closed down. Yeah. So definitely, Rungis is a bit like a lung of Paris. So very important to preserve it. And the connection between food and love has definitely been traced out this evening. Thank you so much. I think if our audience doesn't have any more questions, no, we seem to have been full circle. So I want to thank you all for your great attention and your presence. I want to thank our amazing artist, Jasmine Dirk, and Ferry van der Vliet, two ambassadors from the L'Atelier Néerlandais, for having graced our Alliance Française of The Hague with their presence and their art, their work. Thank you so much. It was a huge privilege and a real grace for us to have you around us. Ferry's exhibition will be on our wall during the whole month of February, so feel free to come and invite people to admire it. And the books of Jasmine are here for you to buy, and she will be signing her books for you this evening. So do not hesitate to prolong this moment with our artist privately. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you soon again for another cultural night here at Alliance Française.
Thank you for having us.